Lymanshire, it's Monday, February 7th. There has been a lot of stuff going on in the news recently, especially involving the Super Bowl last night. What an emotional roller coaster. However, there is something else that is weighing more heavily on my mind. I've seen a slew of videos recently on the topic of being a nerdfighter and what that actually means, and since the community has gotten so big, how do we deal with that? I was first exposed to this idea by a video that my friend Raquel made, and she was actually doing it in a response to a Mike Lombardo video. Essentially saying that nerdfighters have started to label each other as nerdfighters or Decepticons within the community, and it's not really working out for anybody. So let me begin by saying that we need to take into account the nerdfighter demographic. If the nerdfighter demographic is anything like the demographic of my channel, it's going to be almost entirely 13 to 17-year-old females. And the bulk of the remainder are males of the same age range, and the thing about this age range is that no matter what you do, everybody is awkward and insecure. Everybody is seeking definition, and the way that they do that is by creating these very general notions of what self is and establishing themselves on one polar end or the other, because that's so much easier than thinking of all the in-between they could be. And of course the definitions of self that they're attracted to are the very same ones that you get in high school anyway, being largely centered around the entertainment that you like. And that's where people come up with these ideas of, I feel like a bad nerdfighter because I don't like Harry Potter, or I feel like a bad nerdfighter because I don't like Doctor Who. It's all just ludicrous. Something like the shows that you watch has nothing to do with whether or not you can be a good person. And of course the definition that they usually give, being someone who is made entirely of awesome instead of flesh and blood, is of course flippant, but people seem to take it seriously. On the spectrum from awesome to suck, there are not only a great deal of variations, but it's a continuum. At any one point, you can be a little bit awesome and a little bit sucky at the very same time. For example, I have done things that have ruined people's days. Does that make me a Decepticon? I guess. That's not increasing the awesome in the world. However, at other times, I do things to better the world just because I know that it's the right thing to do. Does that make me any less of a Decepticon? Basically what I'm saying is that when someone asks me whether I'm a nerdfighter, the most accurate answer would be, I guess, but not all the time. Because the fact of the matter is that when you work only in ideals, you will never meet up to those idealistic expectations. It's physically impossible. We're humans. We make mistakes. And then at the other end, the whole notion of Decepticons drives me a little crazy because that makes them seem like enemies. And I don't think that there are many people in this world that I'm actually enemies with. There are just lots of people that I'm not yet friends with. And I think that it's important to look at people in that light. If they're not nerdfighters, they're not necessarily bereft of the ability to be nerdfighters. They're simply not yet nerdfighters. And there's a big difference there, because being not yet nerdfighters means that there's something that we can do to change that rather than just labeling them as an enemy and shoveling them aside. Basically what I'm trying to say is what John's been saying this whole time, which is that we just need to imagine people complexly. And because that is the gospel that John preaches, and that is what I believe wholeheartedly, that is what makes me a nerdfighter. So just a few updates. Remember that your comedy sketches for the Fizzy Olympics must be submitted by this Wednesday. Leave them as a video response to my video about the Kindle, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
I'm not quite good at first impressions. I'm not so strong at first sight. But if this is